Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Okay. So, is there a motion before we go on with the regular agenda?
Motion.
To do what? Combine the meetings?
Yes.
Can I preface that by saying I'm not a member of the tourism tax,
But that's okay, you're here.
but I'm willing to sit around and listen to budget talk. But yes, so moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? There, none being heard, we will say by acclamation that we will go ahead and combine the two meetings. Can you tell, I've been watching the conventions, I'm picking up all this stuff.
We like the lingo.
Acclamation.
I'm not aware
It's probably not an
of
official meeting, actually. So
who came up with the idea that the chairperson of a meeting is not a citizen. I think the chair can make motions, and I think the chair can second motions.
I think under Robert's rules only to break a tie, but I wouldn't bet my life or
Yeah.
paycheck on it.
And did you adopt Robert's Rules of Order?
if you don't have a quorum, it's probably not even an official.
Yeah, you don't have a quorum.
So we're just going ahead.
So it's a
Nothing,
discretionary meeting.
nothing on which to vote.
Okay.
Yeah.
We do have an agenda, however, and we're going to go ahead and follow the agenda. Megan provided us with minutes of the previous meeting, and while we cannot ratify them, we can take a second to look them over. Toby, you got a copy, right? Okay. At the last meeting, we approved a couple of different things, and one of the things we did approve was the election of chairperson and vice chairperson for this committee and then subsequently for the tax commission. We will approve those minutes formally at our next meeting. Is there any citizen to be heard? All right, Sandra,
Okay.
would you please?
Okay. So I actually emailed this information out to all the members. So I can skip right along through it.
Budget part.
While I'm at it, I'll hand these out. These are the visitors' numbers through the first half of the calendar year. And then, also because we just finished the month of June, this committee usually takes a look at the taxes received year-to-date in the restaurants, the shops, and the lodging taxes. So there's that report. Try to get my stacks together here. There's one of each of those.
Regarding the list of summary notes you just passed out, I
Yes.
have heard from several people that everyone seems very supportive of the wildlife project,
Oh, yes.
and I haven't heard anyone say anything negative. Mostly questions, when is that going to be done? Who's doing what? How soon that's going to be? So it just really very positive.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, good. We have a really good group of people working on that project. And as you know, at the June board meeting for the Board of Aldermen, they did approve the first step in that project, which was an agreement with the Fish and Wildlife Service to do some tree planting and habitat enhancement on what we would consider the inside of the levee, and then the items outside of the levee need to go through a whole different organization. But we've taken that first step, and those will begin to be planted this fall when the planting conditions are right for young trees.
And I see here that the Mississippi Lime Company engineers are working the landscaping specs.
Yes, so that...
Good contribution from Mississippi Lime.
Wonderful, and they've been very supportive. As the council knows, there was a period of time there when we didn't know exactly what we could do down there because we weren't certain who owned the property. Well, we verified that Mississippi Lime owns the property all the way from, obviously where their loading facilities are, all the way down to crossing over the ramp that you go down to get onto the ferry. They own all of that property. It tapers off into a more narrow and narrow band. Mississippi Lime owns it, so we started to meet with them after the working group had an ad hoc council committee for this group, had sort of blessed a concept of having some very simple improvements down there, some nautical rope hanging between groups of 3 ties together. An actual St. Genevieve artist made the artist sketch for it. Everyone liked it. We showed it to Mississippi Lime. They liked it, and it was that information that they're using in addition to GIS aerial information to figure out, what materials would be needed to improve both the beachfront area and the parking lot area. They're not promising to foot the bill for all of it, but they are promising to help us along the way to determine what needs to be there. So yes, that's very good. And they have been very forthcoming and supportive in terms of helping us and using their engineers to do it, which is sparing us an expense by
They
doing
have
so.
always
Oh, yeah,
been
that's
a good
huge.
corporate citizen. Yes, engineering is a huge expense, and we thank them for that.
So I have here with me today, because I didn't email this out, one of the things in my note was, Sabrina, I'm just going to give you one of those. We decided to do the TAC meeting, just kind of zoom right into the TTC.
Absolutely.
One of the things in my note was talking about the French colonial family, to put your face behind it and have your picture taken. So this is actually, I'll pass that down that way. These are actually the panels. This is before their faces were cut out, but local artists took the project on and agreed to paint some beautiful French people for us. So I just gave them some examples.
Is that a dog?
It's a little cat,
She's holding it.
a little gray cat.
Oh, cat.
Isn't it cute?
Yes.
So all their wonderful creativity. We hit a little glitch because it's a man, a woman, and 2 children. Well, the woman was considerably shorter than the man, barely came up to his elbow, so we had to add a little bit underneath her to boost her up a little bit. She's going to have shoes added to her, so there are some artistic enhancements that have to happen.
Where will these be?
These will be in the little courtyard area in front of the Welcome Center facing Main Street. This is a project that we've been wanting to do for well over a year. It's just takes some good things take time. I have a volunteer carpenter who cut the panels for us. The artists were able to find some time when it worked for all their schedules to actually do the painting.
Very cute.
Now there have to be modifications, and then they will be mounted to the kind of things that you can stand behind and not fall over and have your picture taken. So
Very good.
So I'm hoping, it is my goal that those would be in place by the Jour de Fête weekend. I'm really hoping that that can be possible, because I think it'd be a big hit, and it would be sort of like a exciting thing to happen for the 50th annual Jour de Fête. And you know that inside the Welcome Center, we have a special display, the largest display window, the feature window this month and through the first half of August is the 50th annual Jour de Fête. The Jour de Fête committee set it up. People from all over the community contributed items to go into the display window, and including the yellow queen's dress that had been contributed by a former queen, and
Oh, that's
spent some
great.
time at Kathy's
Yes.
Pour La Femme, and then
Yes.
at one point came down to the Welcome Center, and it looks beautiful in there. So
Great.
you'll have to stop by and see it.
And we'll have to call her and tell her.
Yes, yes, she'll be excited about that. So there's that. You have in front of you the chart that looks like this. Those are the statistics for year-to-date traffic through the visitor center. You can see that for the month of June, we had 2,002, slightly up from June of 2015. For the year, we are up 9% on the year. We had some months early in the year, January, February, March, we had down in January, up in February, down in March, just by 3% on the year. So we're steadily climbing up, 9% ahead on the year for this year. And of course, last year, the end of the calendar year, we reached our highest number in recent years. So we're hoping to top that number this year. And for those who wonder sometimes about who do we count and not count, we pretty well count everyone who comes through the door unless they're coming to deliver something, or like Bob or Tom or someone like that who might be coming, or yourself might be coming down to meet with us about something. So, and if they come back later in the day, we don't count them twice. People often ask that. So that's the beauty of having a human count, is that you can actually say, oh, well, that woman was in here earlier today and we're not going to count her again. Right. So just in case anyone ever asks you, you can let them know where those numbers stand. Then you have a sheet that looks like this. It's two charts, upper and lower. And Sabrina, I'm going to give you this one. Okay. You'll see more of this later. Okay. This basically, the two charts at the top, the one on the left is the restaurant taxes that have been submitted on a month-by-month and quarterly basis through the end of June. And the one on the upper right-hand are the shop sales taxes, again, through the end of the quarter. Quarter ended in June. And these are as per the city treasurer, Sue Schweiss. So these come directly from her.
Not all restaurants, it's just restaurants that would reflect tourism traffic. So it's not weeks down or
That's true. It's not what we would call out in a commercial district. It's down in the historic
and shops
district.
are the same. The sample numbers.
Right. So then at the bottom you have, again, the lodging tax receipts per month. You see some spikes in there because some properties pay quarterly, some pay monthly. So you can see where we stand on the year, 14,725 through the end of June. We're hoping that some of those that typically pay quarterly will be submitting soon. I did look at through the end of June last year and the year before, and we're at 14,700 right now. Last year we were at 15,800, and the year before at 13,000. So we're kind of right in between where we have been the last 2 years. So that's the lodging taxes. Technology stuff we are working on, and I sent kind of a sneak preview out to the TAC members. We're working on a fully responsive mobile website. Right now we have a static website that has pages and pages and pages of information. And if you're coming in on a mobile device, we have a redirect to a mobile static site. It's called an iBrochure. Now we will have a fully responsive mobile site on your PC. It will be formatted horizontally. If you pull it up on a tablet or iPad or something like that, it'll get more narrow and be vertical. And if you pull it up on a cell phone, it'll get even more narrow, and you'll just scroll through it the way everybody scrolls through things now.
Is that this one here I have?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
yes.
I had a question about that. I'm glad you brought that up. On the lodging, I would like to add, if we could add maybe modern hotels on there.
As a category?
Well, it says from boutique hotels to bed and breakfast to apartment rentals and campground. Doesn't say anything about modern hotels.
Okay, on the written description?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, if we could get that added.
Yes.
But other than that, I thought it looked great.
And that little paragraph is up at the top to kind of just set the tone.
Mhm.
And then they search by like historic district, nearby, bed and breakfast, additional lodging, and then
Okay.
wine country lodging, because there's quite a bit of lodging, of
Right.
course, out in wine country. So, but that's modern hotels?
Yes,
Okay,
because we're the only one in town, so.
absolutely. Has that description. Thank you, Sabrina. That's an
Mhm.
excellent suggestion. Sometimes when you stare at it enough, you know, you're going back and forth with the creative team, it's like, oh yeah, it looks good, there's no typos in there, you know?
Right.
Okay, yes.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to point out, we have another new business that just, since this email was sent out, this summary, they opened the Saturday before last, so the 16th, and that is Riverside Studios. And it's in the former Lance Drury attorney's office. Lots of windows right along Market Street. We didn't have a lot going on Market Street. Poor Sweet Thing Sweet Shop was sort of stranded over here, and the little donut shop was sort of stranded over there. Now we have a little more going on Market Street. And she is going to have gallery space, and she's also going to have a paint-your-own pottery place. So she's hoping, she has small children, she thought it would be a nice activity for either parents with small children, we get a lot of grandparents with grandchildren who come in, and so be something fun for them to do too, locals as well as out-of-town visitors.
She's done a great job in decorating the inside of it. It's very attractive.
Oh, I didn't get to go in
It's
yet.
really nice.
Good.
It sounds fun.
Good.
Mm-hmm, it does.
And this past weekend was the special event at ASL Pewter, and Tom, would you like to talk about that?
We hosted this year 6 guest artists who sat up in the studio or on the front porch. And by our head count, we had about 420 individuals coming to the studio.
Foot traffic.
Foot traffic for the Friday night art walk, plus 75 at the art walk, and the rest over the course of the weekend. And we did a strong poll, and we had about 60 bed nights from people coming to see us that are coming to the studio. Some were specifically to see us, but the majority of them were. That was their weekend plan.
Sure.
I'm sorry, it's 60 what?
About 60 bed nights.
Dead nights.
So some people came in and spent 3 nights in hotels, some of them 2, some of them just 1.
You might know that as room nights.
Room nights.
Like a Friday night or Saturday night, that would be 2.
So yeah, then we've got them in. And our artists, 2 of them reported the best sales they've ever had with us, and we have 3 of the artists have been with us for 10 years.
I'm only sad that I was out of town, because last year I bought quite a few Christmas presents at that.
They missed some of the regulars.
Yeah.
And the heat was really effective. We had a lot of people called, and we had to pass the phone around to all the artists so that people could say hi and apologize for the people not being able to come in.
It's still exciting news. Under those conditions, to have those results.
Yes, we were very well received.
Wonderful. Good.
Yeah, and it was nice because we had a lot of store owners and people from the community that hadn't been in to see us last year come in during the day on the Saturday and Sunday, not just the art walk.
Oh, wow. So one of the other things I wanted to talk about is the last item here. As of today, and this could change any day, we hope it changes any day, but the St. Genevieve Modoc Ferry is still down and has been down since the first week in June.
People miss it.
We had people asking about that this weekend.
Yes, so I just wanted to make sure that the Tourism Advisory Council members were aware of that. It certainly affects our foot traffic. I'm sure you feel an effect from that. From an operational standpoint, we get the irate phone calls.
Oh, yeah.
The
I'm
Welcome
sure.
Center's phone number is the one that's
Yeah.
posted on there.
Right.
Megan knows how this is. We try to take it on a day-to-day basis. We try not to engage because you can get some pretty irate people. And, you know, and then they...
Blame the Coast Guard.
Hmm?
Just blame the Coast Guard.
Well, yeah. So we try to diffuse the situation as best we can, but I just wanted to make sure that we were all aware of the fact that, that it's still not operational. And we are assured that any day now they are going to get that final inspection that they need. They've made all the recommended repairs that needed to be made, and they're just, as Martin said, waiting on the Coast Guard to do that final inspection. So there's that. I think that concludes my report. I'll have more later on, but that's...
Thank you. Thank you very much. At this point, is there anyone who wants to bring up a topic that we don't have on the TAC agenda at this point? If not, I would say you're up. Let's talk a little bit about Sandra's proposed budget before we call it a night.
Okay.
Since this isn't really a meeting. Oh,
Yeah,
but wait. One, now you're TTC?
No, we don't have a.
Okay, okay. And I was going to count myself that time,
So
but,
we can just do a discussion.
yeah.
So that way, at least we'll have a sneak preview
There you go.
of the
Yes.
budget. That way we can look and see if there's anything that any of us think needs to be added or changed.
Okay, so are we, do we need to adjourn? I'm thinking for Megan's minutes. It was just a discussion.
Yeah, we're not,
Okay.
we don't have
Yeah.
we're just an informational meeting tonight.
Okay. So, switch it over.
In my
So,
normal nerd-like way, I went through and I have a couple of questions about what things are.
okay, great.
Not the amounts necessarily, but just what is it?
Okay.
And these are all going to be new
Anybody need
amounts
a
for me,
Okay.
because I don't, this is my first time working with the budget.
This one?
Okay, but do you have?
I don't have a copy.
Oh,
of it.
he doesn't have a copy of the budget.
Who needs a copy? Tom does. So, there might be some extra copies in here too. right?
There should
Yeah.
be, yeah.
Here's another one. Oh, you have one. And you have one. Okay. So, just taking it from the top. Actually, the very top line is personnel, and you don't have that detail in front of you.
Right.
But then moving down from that, in this fiscal year, we will be reprinting our visitor's guide. So we bumped up to 800, and I think we're going to end up at about 3,500. You can see that second last column counting in from the right. I think we're going to be projected to spend about 3,500. And so I took that back down to 2,500 for next year because we won't have the major expense again. Next line item, postage. Again, we had 3,500 there. You can see we're only at 879. I'm projecting out 3,000 because we will have quite a few of the printed items that will be mailed out between now and the end of September. So I'm projecting that we'll spend 3,000 and then proposing 2,500 for next year, just based on where we are now and knowing that we won't have that additional expense of the big mailings. Our marketing budget last year was 33,000. I'm projecting that amount even, and I bumped it up, and you can see that basically I took the 1,000 savings and the 500 savings and added it in here, and then I made some adjustments further down. So I'm asking for that to go from 33,000 to 35,000. Kept grants the same. Those are external grants that we apply for. Kept membership and dues the same. I bumped up uniforms a little bit because I think some of the expenses that we'll have will come in after the fiscal year. So I think that we'll spend $250 by the end of the year, keeping the 300 in next year's budget. Yes.
What are the uniforms?
So we have polo shirts that have the St. Genevieve logo, and the front desk staff generally wear them. And then we
Oh.
have button-down shirts that they can wear. I mean, it's, you know, it's an option. And so I wanted to, for each one of them, we have 3 new people now, so I wanted
Okay.
each one of them to have at least 2 shirts. So there's that. Janitorial supplies kept the same, office supplies the same. Resale, I bumped that up just a little bit because you'd be surprised how many things that people expect for us to have. And, you know, I certainly don't want to compete. We try not to carry things, you know, that you can get in any of the downtown shops. But when people are just breezing through and making one stop and they can't find, you know, like a postcard, or they can't find whatever it is, we want to be sure that they don't go away displeased. So I just put in another 200 in that budget.
And then what is the next item? Credit card sales.
So those are the charges that Visa and MasterCard charge us for any of the things. Like if we have a tour that comes through and they put, you know, $1,500 on a credit card, we have a fee that we pay for the use of credit cards, just like in a shop or anything like that. So those are Visa and MasterCard charges when we ring up a sale, basically. It's that fee, you know, like
Yeah,
a bank fee.
I just don't recall seeing it broken out as a separate line item like that.
Well, you can see the history from 2013, it was 777 and 763. Last year it was 800. We adopted 500 because we must have been, at the time when I did the projection, we must have been kind of low, and now you can see on the actual we're at 678. I'm thinking we'll probably be right at 800, and so I said maybe to be safe we should look at 1,000.
For our next meeting about this, could you factor in, you said about tours and things like that, because the way it looks just right here, you're spending $2,000 for items for resale, and credit card fees are $1,000. Well, that's not good. And it wouldn't be like that in the real world. So we need to see what all goes into running up those fees.
Okay, so the items for resale are just the knick-knack
Yeah.
items, but these can be, I mean, almost everyone that comes through and buys a passport charges it. So every passport that we sell, every tour company that comes through, like when the American Queen comes through and, you know, they pay by credit card. So it's not
It's
that,
mostly for the passports rather than merchandise.
yeah, it would be a little bit, but I could break it down. How much was merchandise versus passports versus
You should be able
tours?
to get a print out from the credit card company.
Well, they don't
Summary.
know what our categories are, but I could get a good idea of what that is. Yeah, they could do that. So the next 3, you can see that I just kept those where we had them for last year. Telephone, utilities, natural gas, and electric. I just kept it at where it was last year. Equipment repairs. So on this, when you turn the page, 1, 2, 3, 4. The far column to the right is the FY17 proposed, and 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth one from the right is the FY16, what it was. So you can see I'm, you know, not doing any big increases here. I just kept everything the same, very conservative, all the way down. In this category, it's 47,650 and 47,650. Interestingly enough, we have had in this year quite a bit of building repair expenses, and we knew we were going to have some of that. That was why I bumped it up a little bit last year. We had an air conditioning unit that we had to replace. We have 3 units altogether. So now 2 of the 3 have been replaced in the last 4 years. Chances are pretty good we'll have to replace the next one sometime soon. You know, just the day-to-day things of operating a facility like that. This spring we had carpenter bees, so we had to do a special treatment for the carpenter bees. Remember how last year we had like 3 little bees? Well, this year it was like 25 of them, and they said that they'll just keep. So just those little things.
They have been very bad every place in the state this year. Lots of people have come that when I would be given a tour and talk about carpenter bees. They ate our barn. They did, you know, just terrible destruction.
Yeah, and it's not just the little hole that you see on the
No.
outside.
Yeah, they go and eat the inside.
Yeah. So, so at any rate, and then the section below that, these are like landscaping, office equipment, building improvements, those kinds of things. The co-op grants, the program grants, again, those are external. We were approved for all of the funds that we asked for in our co-op grant for this year. And someone had asked me to talk about the process, and the budget-making process. So Martin and I are scheduled to meet next week to review my projections and requests and so on. And then at the second meeting in August of the Board of Aldermen, I'll be presenting my department budget and taking any questions that they might have. I know
Would you
last year-
send us a reminder of that so that any of us who have time can come and support Sandra and be there from either or both committees for the presentation to the Board of Aldermen? That would be great if we can just get a reminder.
Sure.
Because that'll be after your defense, so we're all going to need a reminder.
Right, right. So, then, if you want, I can go straight into the Tourism Tax Commission side of it. Can you do that? So that actually, just for information purposes.
Thank you.
I got a paper cut earlier, so I'm just being real ginger with all these. Like, the last thing I want to do is touch paper. Oh, I already gave you those. Did I give you this one?
Yes.
You just have one page, so. Well, and then the third sheet actually looks like this, but this was, for those who were here earlier, this was also on the TAC when there were 2 reports, upper and lower.
Yeah.
But you might want to have one just for the TTC reference. And Megan, I know you have it already. Okay. So the first one, well, we're not going to vote to approve anything, right, Tom? So
No,
first one that is vertically oriented, and it starts out with income and then expenditures and subtotal to date. This is kind of the new look that we had developed to see everything at a glance versus the one that's more like a checking register that's a timeline based. So here you can see that the funds received in the fiscal year to date are $14,725. That includes the 503 that you saw in the other report. So the 503 that came in was added to this. I think we had $6 in interest since the last report. So your beginning balance for TTC was $17,782, and beginning balance plus funds to date is $32,500. Year to date, we have paid out $13,684. So that included, at the last meeting, we talked about the CTM rack card, the printing portion that was going to be used for this distribution, and also the distribution contract. That's in that 1371. One more month of search engine marketing, and the May radio campaign was included in the items paid recently. So under future obligations, committed but not paid, we would have additional obligations for our search engine marketing. And I brought some information to talk about that. We might decide later to add an additional 6 months of rack card distribution, which would be an option that the committee could consider. And then actual funds available for future spending would be $18,457. Depending on how things go, the rest of the fiscal year might be an additional $6,000 coming in. And then less the desired carryover, funds available for next year right now looks about $14,500. Then, well, these other two reports, we already kind of talked about this one with the April, May, and June deposits into the lodging tax receipts and where we stand year to date on that. And then just the check register breakdown on a timeline basis is the other vertical report that you have. There's that. Tom also asked me to pull together some notes about our search engine marketing program. And so for those committee members who are not familiar with our program, we started participating with the Missouri Division of Tourism search engine marketing program about 2 years ago. This is coordinated through Madden Media, and they coordinate the contract for the state. Under this program, every dollar that we spend in the program is leveraged from an additional dollar from the state, and this doesn't have to go through our grant process, which we call our co-op grant. So the search engine marketing dollars that we spend, we actually get double the bang for our buck. And because they are coordinating the campaigns for other DMOs, we're actually less likely to compete with those DMOs than if we were all using separate search services. So in the beginning, when we first started, the only program that was available for search engine marketing through this dollar for dollar match was the Google AdWords program. About a year ago, we added, the state and Madden added Bing search, and Bing is actually in our core target demographic, those 45 and older. Bing has a stronger following because now it comes installed on all of the computers that you buy. Bing is the default search engine, as well as tablets and so on. So I have a report here of what this looks like.
So, what was installed on tablets and laptops before?
Tapas?
Tablets.
Oh.
You said Bing is now installed, and so.
You're saying several years ago, what did they use as the default search?
Yeah, well, I mean, why did the demographic change because of the installation of Bing?
So it used to be, used to be that Google was kind of the default search, and really, I would say, just the fact that Google it has become a verb, it is a very strong search engine.
Well, Microsoft owns Bing, and basically they wanted it on all their products and
So-
on all their operating systems and everything, so they.
Okay, so when it comes with Windows operating system.
Yeah. So it's the
So
default.
any new
computer that
equipment.
Bing is automatically installed on it to start with, and you have to actually add Google.
Yeah, you have the option to change your default.
And how did that change the demographic? You said now we're reaching our demographic. that
Well,
we weren't
my
before.
question was, is this where we want to be? And they said, actually, the demographic is skewed slightly older on Bing than on Google.
Huh.
And so, that answered my question, because our target demographic, our core target is that 45 and older, slightly
Yeah,
skewed
no, I get it.
female.
Yeah, I just don't know why it would be older, but that's okay.
It's just
They-
the statistics.
Sure. They know
Because
what
it's
they're
already
talking about.
installed, they don't have
They
the
don't
time
have
to
to
go.
change it.
change it.
Thank you.
So they settle with what they've got on.
Right.
They're happy with it.
It's harder, I find it harder to use.
Sounds like
and-
Bing
and-
Crosby, I don't know.
I do too.
And it doesn't give me results that I want, but it's there, so I have to go. do three
I
extra
change
clicks
everything over to
go
Google.
somewhere else.
Yeah?
Google,
Yeah.
that's where it's at.
So there you have, and then I was just going to further explain. I know this is getting kind of down into the weeds a little bit, but you asked, so I'm telling you. So then you've got impressions, which is the highest number in the center, clicks, and then your click-through rate. Bing is in the upper left-hand corner, and Google is lower right-hand corner. And you can see the ad groups that tend to have the largest number of impressions and clicks. In both Bing and Google, it is lodging is the #1 ad group. And you can see the next thing on Google is recreation and outdoor, followed shortly by near St. Louis. The next thing on Bing are wineries and vineyards. Actually, click-through rate. Next thing, they have these sorted by clicks. So in terms of impressions, the next thing is near St. Louis on Bing. And the clicks themselves, wineries and vineyards and dining. And then you can see the far right column is the click-through rate percentage for the various categories. And Google, which is kind of the standard, Google considers anything over a 1% click-through rate a real triumph. And so we have several categories that are considerably over the 1% click-through rate. On the Bing searches, our highest click-through rate are the wineries, vineyards, and dining. And on the Google searches, the highest click-through rate is events and festivals. Just interesting to point these things out.
And how, do you have a last year, same month, from them, from the same thing? I just want to see if there's, see if there's changes. I just want to, because we're paying, if they're doing their job, we should be ramping up and getting just a few percentage points, additional changes every month,
Right. So, so there's another report for that. Let me pull this
Okay,
one
yeah.
out. Clicks by month, click-through rate over time. Okay, so this one's front and back.
My goodness.
And I apologize, these are just big sheets of paper. You've got Google on one side and Bing on the other on this, because I couldn't reduce them down enough to make it make sense. So if you're looking at the Bing side, you can see this is the average. Did I give you one? Okay. This is the average of all of the search words averaged together. So it'd be sort of the campaign click-through rate. You can see that our highest rate, and again, this is probably because there's so much interest in the wineries and the outdoor activities, 5.17 in the month of October.
Yeah, the September, October.
Yeah. So
Are big.
on the other side, again, October is the highest month. And even our lowest month, January, was a 1.87 on Google. Now, to compare that with, because I looked at last year's total campaign click-through rate, and our highest month last year was August, and it was 5.2. And then this was...
That's on Bing?
Well, see, that was before we added Bing, so we just had one number the year previous. So our highest months the year previous were August, September, and October, and they were 5.2, 4.5, 4.76, just for point of comparison. So if you compare that to...
Very, very comparable to Bing.
Yeah, yeah. So I had another thought there, let's see. So they also changed a little bit about the way they deliver the impressions, again, to drive the value. They used to take the dollar amount that you had and just charge it for however many impressions you got that month, and then carry forward if there was a balance unreceived. And now they try to hit as many clicks, as many impressions delivered and as many clicks as they can every single month. And so I asked on the month of June, yet one more chart. The month of June had dipped down a little bit on this chart, and that is because up until that point, they had been using up the dollar amount as well as they could, and in June, the dollar amount dipped down because that's all that was left in the contract. So it went from 645 on Google to 562. So about 90 fewer total clicks on the campaign. And then on the other side, from 371 to 432. So about 50 fewer in the month of June versus the month of May. So that is the kind of a summary of the search engine marketing program. I also, one of our local businesses has access to a program where you can run all of your search engine terms through the program and see what's really hitting, in addition to all the reports that I get. And I asked them if they had time to consider taking our information and kind of comparing it through this analysis program. And they said they wouldn't mind doing that. It's on their terms, so looking forward to see what comes of that as well. I think those are all the papers I was going to hand out.
That's a lot of papers.
A lot of papers.
I know. But I didn't know if anyone would actually read it if I scanned it and emailed it to everyone.
And our distribution, are they all?
They are out there. She was supposed to send me a list of the inventory, and she just didn't get it to me in time. But the rack cards were finished about 3 weeks ago, and they were delivered to CTM, I'd say about the week of the 4th of July. So they put them into distribution. Have you looked at your, I don't know what week of the month that people, because you have a CTM display at the Microtel, don't you?
Yeah, I haven't looked at it.
Yeah. They usually make a circuit and distribute them, but of course we were in the hotels up and down the I-55 corridor, and Microtel would be one of those.
Okay.
So they're in distribution now. I ordered enough so that if we wanted to do a second, a second 6-month contract, we would have enough to do it. And I also ordered enough to add to our distribution corridor, to add the St. Louis Convention and Visitors Commission downtown, which is their main welcome center. So, And we have enough to send out to all the welcome centers across the state, which we used to send our whole visitor's guide there. So A, it should save us on postage. Megan remembers how heavy those boxes were. And B, it's a little easier to pick it up and take it with you, so. So the rec cards are in distribution now. Yay. Thanks for your suggestion on that, because
Well, just the cost finally got to the point that they really make sense.
the printer that they use is an out-of-state printer that just deals in high volume. So if there's any organization that wants to do a high volume of rack cards, it's pretty incredible pricing. I'd be happy to share it with anyone if they're interested. Just had one other thing I just thought I would share with you. One of the things that the state sends us is information on just overall ad position. Like we were talking last time about the search engine marketing and how the ads tend to fall. So the overall ad position for this search engine marketing through Madden Media with all of the Missouri partners is a 2.4 average ad position. So that's always going to land you, well, for one, your paid searches come up on the first page anyway, but it's either going to be first, second, or sometimes third. So for what it's worth.
Where they can find us.
Mm-hmm. And we get a lot of people who say, that they found us on the internet or they saw our website. More and more people all the time are, of course, doing electronic searches, and sometimes they're even planning a lot about their itinerary before they even get here. So we've got that tablet in the Welcome Center so that sometimes people literally pull off the highway and haven't decided, where they're going to stay or anything like that, and they can actually check availability. Sometimes we call and find out for them if they're not the type who like to do electronic things, but try to help them make that decision while they're there. Mm-hmm.
Does that about do it?
That's it for me, unless anyone has any questions.
I do not. At some point, we're going to do this all again,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Right.
I think that, well, it gives us a basis so we can at least be more educated and ready to make.
Absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And
Didn't mean to drown you with papers, but now you know a little bit more about it.
Right.
I don't have that. I don't usually have a business, is there?
I have no other business that we need to bring up, so thank you for doing such a good and thorough job, Sandra, as always. And I would encourage everyone to take your papers with you, and tomorrow morning over coffee, pull them out and look at them again.
Yes.
There's always something new.
Well, and the budget looks like it's pretty
It
self-explanatory.
does.
We can go through there
Yes,
and look
I
through
think
that.
that'll be, I think
I like
that'll be just
Since
fine.
I'm new to it, I want to go back and look down 2 or 3 years and
Yeah,
see where the
there you
changes
go.
are.
Yeah.
And it's right there.
Like the budget looks painfully small.
Yeah. I know. We do a lot with our painfully.
Absolutely.